Good morning, everyone. Today we will be discussing this article, which is based on reframing India's foreign policy priorities, which was published in The Hindu on 12th of January 2021. And it talks about the current challenges and opportunities in pursuit of fulfilling foreign policy objectives. So, सबसे पहले अगर हम बात करते हैं अपनी foreign policy की, so this article tells you that what must be and how must be India's foreign policy of 2021 in dealing with its neighbors specifically and with China. ठीक है, ये क्यों important है? Because of the challenges that we are facing in today's world and the opportunities that India has in front of it, जिसको वो यूज करके अपना इन्फ्लुएंस रीजन में इंक्रीज कर सकता है. So the article talks all about this. So we will be discussing the foreign policy of 2021. But before we discuss the foreign policy which is being talked about in the article, we need to discuss India's foreign policy 6 broad phases. So what were the 6 broad phases जिसमें इंडिया की foreign policy को हम divide कर सकते हैं? Beginning with the first phase, we have 1947 से 1962 का time, in which मैं बहुत जल्दी जल्दी इसको cover करूंगी. So we had non-alignment. India talked about non-alignment during this period. It was the then Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who formed this group with a few other countries, and this group was known as NAM, Non-Alignment Movement. This marked the peak of the Third World Solidarity. Why am I calling it Third World Solidarity? So, us time pe there were two major superpowers in the world, USA and USSR. But India did not want to align itself to either of these groupings. Instead, India preferred to form a third world, to form a grouping which was non-aligned movement that was not tilted, that like the name says, it was not tilted towards any of these sides. So this was the first phase of optimistic non-alignment. ठीक है. इसके बाद coming to the second phase, it was a decade of realism and recovery, 1962 से 71. So if I talk about 1962, what comes into your head? The first thing that comes into head is the Sino-India War, which is the India-China War. And इस time पे India lost this war. So after losing this war in 1962, India decided to leave a little bit of idealism in its foreign policy. हमने कोशिश की कि हम थोड़ा सा idealism छोड़ के realism की तरफ move करें. ठीक है. And realism क्यों needed था? It was needed for our security, for the border security, it was needed for political challenges. So इन सारी चीज़ों को लेकर हमने आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश करी. So if we'll talk about what India faced during this time was external pressures on Kashmir, the Tashkent Agreement. You can't forget the Tashkent Agreement. ठीक है. And इस time पे India started tilting itself to USSR. Though initially we talked about non-alignment, we gradually shifted towards Russia or USSR. So this was a time when the world was focusing on USA, India was focusing on Russia. India was developing its friendship, developing its ties with USSR. Now coming to the third phase, 1971 to 1991, it is the time of Indian regional assertion. हम इस time पे India tries to assert itself. कैसे? ये हम देखते हैं. So if I talk about 1971, what is the first thing that comes into your head? It is the India-Pakistan War of 1971 that led to the liberation of Bangladesh, and thus we call it the Bangladesh Liberation War. ठीक है, मैं इसको बहुत जल्दी जल्दी cover करें because these are the broad phases that you just need to know. इस time पे India showed a remarkable use of its hard power. हमने यहाँ पे अपने idealism को छोड़ा, we moved a bit towards realism, we used our hard power and liberated Bangladesh. ठीक है. This was also a time when India faced sanctions from USA. इंडिया ने USA से sanctions face किए. क्यों? क्योंकि इस टाइम पे हमने अपना पोखरण 1 जो न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट था, पीसफुल न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट 1974 का, वो कर लिया था. ठीक है. Now coming to the next phase is the fourth phase of 91 to 98. इस टाइम पे हमने strategic autonomy की, we tried to safeguard our strategic autonomy in the emergence of a unipolar world. अब क्योंकि USSR का disintegration हो गया था, ठीक है. Now this was the phase that led to the unipolar world order. How? अब USA and USSR में USSR का disintegration हो गया, so we moved from a bipolar to a unipolar world order. And इस कारण से India had to change its stance. India had to reduce focusing on Russia, and this led because it led to a unipolar world order. ठीक है, इस टाइम पे इंडिया ट्राइड टू रीच आउट टू एंगेज यूएसए, ऑब्वियसली बिकॉज अगर एक सिंगल सुपर पावर है, सो इंडिया हैज टू मेंटेन इट्स रिलेशंस, डेवलप इट्स रिलेशंस एंड टाइज with this one superpower, which was the USA. India also tried to engage more with Israel and other ASEAN countries. ठीक है. Now coming to the fifth phase, which is 98 से 2013 का, India portrayed itself as a balancing power. Why? अब देखो, इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद, इंडिया के इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद, both India and China were growing gradually. But during the last decade or so, we see that there has been a great rise in China. China की पार काफी ज्यादा बढ़ी है. So this was a time when India tried to balance China, balance the rise of China. So this was the fifth phase. Now coming to the sixth phase, you have the energetic engagement, which is 2013 से लेकर अभी तक. इस फेज में ऐसा क्या हुआ? इस फेज में इंडियाज पॉलिसी ऑफ नॉन अलाइनमेंट, हमने इनिशियली इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद बात करी नॉन अलाइनमेंट की, देन we shifted towards multi-alignment. Now we see that we have shifted towards multi-alignment. Multi-alignment world order की हम बात करते हैं, multipolar world order की बात करते हैं. बट ऐसा क्यों? ऐसा इसलिए कि इंडिया हैज नाउ रियलाइज्ड कि इंडिया की कैपेबिलिटीज क्या है, इंडिया की एक्सपेक्टेशंस, इंडिया से एक्सपेक्टेशंस लोगों की क्या है, वर्ल्ड की क्या है. ठीक है, यहाँ पे एक ग्रोइंग चाइना को बैलेंस करने के लिए इंडिया का बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है. ठीक है, इंडिया इज ऑल्सो अ मेजर इकोनॉमी, वन ऑफ द मेजर इकोनॉमीज इन द वर्ल्ड. इसके अलावा वी हैव अ टैलेंट इन क्रिएटिंग, लाइक देयर इज रिलेवेंस ऑफ इंडियाज टैलेंट इन क्रिएटिंग एंड सस्टेनिंग ग्लोबल टेक्नोलॉजी, विच इज ऑल्सो लाइकली टू ग्रो विद टाइम. ऑल्सो अगर हम बात करें, सो इंडिया हैज टू फोकस मोर ऑन सार्क. इंडिया हैज टू रिवाइव सार्क. ठीक है, इसके अलावा अगर हम देखें अपनी फॉरेन पॉलिसी में, सो इंडिया हैज ट्राइड फोकसिंग ऑन इट्स नेबर्स. वी हैव द नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी. अपार्ट फ्रॉम इट वी ऑल्सो हैव द लुक ईस्ट एंड द एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी, जिससे वी आर ट्राइंग टू मेंटेन, टू डेवलप, टू एंगेज with the Southeast Asian countries. Okay, but now if we talk about the present scenario, what is the present scenario? ठीक है, प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो की अगर बात देखें, सो इंडिया इज फेसिंग द ग्रेवेस्ट नेशनल सिक्योरिटी क्राइसिस विद चाइना. कहाँ पे? LAC में. LAC में. नाउ इफ यू ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट द अदर थिंग्स, वी हैव सार्क. जैसा मैंने आपको बताया, सार्क इज आउट ऑफ जॉइंट. सार्क, इंडिया विच इज अ मेंबर ऑफ सार्क, India has not been focusing more on SAARC. मैंने एक वीडियो भी बनाया which talks about revival of SAARC and why is there a need to revive SAARC. ठीक है, अब SAARC के मेंबर जो हैं, they are also not in good terms with India, स्पेसिफिकली पाकिस्तान. एंड अगर हम रिसेंट में देखें, सो इवन नेपाल हैज टर्न्ड होस्टाइल. ये नेपाल वाला इशू जो था, दैट वाज रिलेटेड टू द काला पानी इशू, अगर आपने लास्ट ईयर देखा होगा. सो अगर आपको नहीं पता है तो जस्ट आस्क मी, आई विल मेक अ वीडियो ऑन द काला पानी इशू. नाउ कमिंग टू द अनदर नेबर, श्रीलंका. श्रीलंका की अगर हम बात देखें, सो इट इज ऑल्सो टिल्टेड टुवर्ड्स चाइना. ऐसा क्यों? सो चाइना इज ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड अ लॉट ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स, इज ट्राइंग टू इन्वेस्ट, trying to fund a lot of infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka, and that is the reason, because China can afford it. China ki economy can afford it. That is the reason that China is investing a lot in these projects in Sri Lanka. So this is one reason that Sri Lanka is also getting tilted towards China. Apart from it, if we focus on Bangladesh, another neighbor of ours, Bangladesh is miffed at the Citizenship Amendment Act. So NRC and Citizenship Amendment Act jo hai, these are the reasons that have made even Bangladesh drift a little bit away from us. Now, talking about Afghanistan as a neighbor, we see that Afghanistan में जो transfer of power का crisis है, this is being dealt by various countries including USA, USSR and even China. But where is India? There's no role of India. India is out of these multi-party talks. India का कोई role ही नहीं है यहाँ पे. So India should try to influence, India should try to be a part of these multi-party talks to gain influence even in Afghanistan. Now, if we talk about Iran ka railway link project connecting the Chabahar port on the Gulf of Oman to Zahedan, which India was to have constructed, ये बिना इंडिया के ही inaugurate हो चुका है. ठीक है, so we see that there are deteriorating ties with Iran as well. So we must make sure that हम neighborhood and extended neighborhood में अपने relations and ties नहीं spoil करें, नहीं खराब करें, and it demands a deeper study, a deeper understanding of the foreign policy which India should adopt for at least 2021 and the upcoming years. Now, coming to the article, if we talk about the challenges that are in front, हम इतनी देर से challenges की तो बात कर रहे हैं that there are a lot of challenges and opportunities, but what are these challenges? ये challenges क्या हैं? We have a very stronger China. अगर हम independent के just बात की बात करें, so India and China equally grow कर रहे थे, but today अगर हम practically realistically बात करें, so China is much stronger than India. So we have a much stronger country, a much stronger China in front of us. अगर हम बात करें post pandemic की, अगर हम बात करें COVID-19 के आने के बाद की, so China was the only major country that had a positive growth rate at the end of 2020. Strange, it was COVID-19 that started from China, and अगर देखा जाए, so all the economies across the world ने एक डाउनफॉल देखा, बट अगर यहाँ देखा जाए, so China was the only country that saw a positive growth at the end of 2020. Now China has further strengthened itself and now seeks to dominate Indo-Pacific. China is trying to dominate the Indo-Pacific region. अगर हम देखें, so China जो है धीरे धीरे साउथ एशिया में अपना इन्फ्लुएंस बढ़ा रहा है. Apart from this, there is also a growing Russia-China axis. Now that अब अगर देखा जाए, so क्रीमिया के एनेक्सेशन के बाद, there was Crimea's annexation by Russia in 2014, and after that Russia faced a lot of sanctions from countries across the world and specifically from USA. So after this, Russia tried to tilt itself towards China. ठीक है, इट पुश्ड रशिया टुवर्ड्स अ टाइटर एम्ब्रेस ऑफ चाइना. इससे हम देखते हैं कि रशिया चाइना एक्सिस ग्रो कर रहा है, एंड ऑब्वियसली बात है, अगर रशिया चाइना एक्सिस ग्रो कर रहा है, सो रशिया इंडिया एक्सिस वुड बी ऑन अ डिक्लाइन. Now coming to the changing Middle East equations, अगर हम Middle East equations की बात करें, so we see that US brokered rapprochement जो था between Israel and 4 Arab countries, ये जो है ये एक change दिखाता है Middle East की equations में. But if we see the Abraham Accords, the situation remains fluid and has not reduced the risk of confrontation between Iran and Israel. So अगर आपने Abraham Accords के बारे में नहीं पढ़ा है, then let me know, I'll make a video on Abraham Accords. ठीक है. Now coming to the self-imposed isolation, this is a very important topic, a very important point, that self-imposed isolation. So we see that there were groupings like SARC and NAM जो इंडिया ने फाउंड किया था. India was a founding member and especially of non-aligned movement which was started in the initial years after independence. But अगर देखा जाए तो आज की डेट में India is one of the members who is not interested in these two groupings. सार्क को तो हम मान लेते हैं that it is dead. इसको हमको रिवाइव करने की जरूरत है. Okay, and if we talk about NAM, we see that the Prime Minister of India which was a founding member, uske hi present Prime Minister do not seem to be interested to even take part in the NAM summits. So this is one reason which, like, self-imposed isolation which India should avoid. ऐसा क्यों? So we see that recently India opted out of RCEP. ठीक है, this is one major grouping as per my opinion which is on the rise, and इससे India opted out, which is a negative, which will prove negative in the longer run maybe. So India must try to focus on other groupings जिसका वो already member है, to revive it, उसका use करना, to move ahead. Not just this, there are weakening ties with the neighbors. जैसे मैंने आपको पहले explain किया कि हमारे सारे neighbors के साथ हमारे relations are on a downfall. पाकिस्तान के साथ the relations have not improved. China के साथ we are seeing a lot of border standoff. If we talk about Bangladesh, we have the NRC issue. If we talk about Myanmar, we have the Rohingyas coming into play. If we talk about Sri Lanka, we see that China is trying to invest a lot of money in this country, in Sri Lanka, which is making Sri Lanka tilt towards China. And Nepal की अगर हम बात देखें तो the Kala Pani issue, जो रिलीज ऑफ न्यू मैप के कारण लास्ट ईयर आया था, दैट हैज ऑल्सो मेड नेपाल hostile towards India. ठीक है. Now, if we talk about China investing a lot in other countries, this can be termed as the checkbook diplomacy. So, if we talk about India-Pakistan relations, we talk about the cricket diplomacy. Cultural ties, cultural diplomacy. If we talk about US and China relations, we talk about the ping pong diplomacy. But if we talk about how China is heavily investing in the other countries and specifically the neighbors of India, we talk about the checkbook diplomacy. Now, coming to the way forward, this checkbook diplomacy this checkbook diplomacy can be countered using the vaccine diplomacy by India. So with 2021 coming into play and COVID-19, what India can do is India can help the neighboring countries with vaccines either free or at affordable cost. This can be the vaccine diplomacy that can help India increase and maintain good relations with its neighbors. Okay. Now, if we talk about the external aid, तो अगर हम देखा जाए तो 1963 के बाद जैसे सिनेरियोज हमारे आज की डेट में लग रहे हैं, बॉर्डर स्टैंड ऑफ विद चाइना काफ़ी ज़्यादा है. सो इंडिया नीड्स टू मेक श्योर कि इंडिया इज गेटिंग कंटिन्यूस सपोर्ट फ्रॉम US, जापान, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड अदर यूरोपियन लीडर्स सच एज फ्रांस, जर्मनी एंड UK. ठीक है. ऑल्सो व्हाट इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर अस इज वी मस्ट यूज, अभी हमें पता चल रहा है दैट इंडिया इज एट द UNSC टेबल, UN सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल का नॉन परमानेंट मेंबर इंडिया हैज बिकम फॉर द 8th टाइम. सो इंडिया मस्ट मेक श्योर कि इंडिया इज रेजिंग ऑल द इम्पोर्टेंट ग्लोबल मैटर्स लाइक चाइनाज अग्रेसिवनेस, चाइना की अग्रेसिवनेस के बारे में, चाइना के नेगेटिव इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के बारे में कि कैसे वो तिब्बत में एक्सपैंड कर रहा है, ताइवान में एक्सपैंड कर रहा है, ईरान सऊदी राइवलरी में वो अपने फायदे देख रहा है, कैसे वो रेफ्यूजी क्राइसिस में एक हिस्सा है, कैसे वो श्रीलंका में नेगेटिवली इन्वेस्ट करके श्रीलंका को अपनी तरफ टिल्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. सो ऑल दीज मैटर्स मस्ट बी रेज्ड बाय इंडिया एट द UN सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल टेबल. ठीक है. नॉट जस्ट दिस, इंडिया मस्ट ऑल्सो ट्राई टू यूज क्वाड ग्रुपिंग कौन सी है? यू हैव इंडिया, USA, जापान in Australia. So this is one group apart from RCEP which is on the rise, but one thing that differs is Quad का India member है, RCEP का India is not a member. So India must positively try to use this grouping in the Indo-Pacific region and the new US administration को positively use करना चाहिए to improve its relations, to deepen its strategic and defense ties with US, Australia and Japan, and must also try to use this grouping to influence other countries near the Indo-Pacific and especially the Southeast Asian countries. So what we conclude is that if India wants to move from being an aspirational power to a global power, India must be realistic. India must try to use these groupings like Quad and RCEP in improving its relations. India must use its foreign policy positively. India must use its opportunity of being a non-permanent UN Security Council member for the 8th time by highlighting the aggressiveness of China and improving its situation, improving its relations with other countries, and specifically in South Asia and Southeast Asia. So this was all for today regarding the foreign policy of India and what India must do at least for 2021 and the coming few years in terms of its foreign policy for developing its relations and specifically to improve its relations with its neighbor which are on a downfall. That's all for today. Thank you. I hope you liked it.